Welcome to English Day with Miri. Today we are going to learn about the simple past tense. Let us first learn the structure of this tense. To form the positive or affirmative sentence, we begin with the subject plus the base form of the verb in the past. For example, Risa shopped in the mall. As you can see, our verb is in the past form. We need to add ed to make it past. Now let's move on to the negative form. We begin with the subject plus did not plus the base form of the verb. Now please take note that when we are using did, make sure that your verb is in its base form, not in the past form anymore because it is considered redundant. Let's have some example. Risa did not shop in the mall. Now let's move on to the question form. We begin with did plus the subject followed by the base form of the verb. For example, did Risa shop in the mall? Now that we know how to form the simple past tense, let's now move on to its uses. The first use is to talk about finished action, state, or habit. For example, I was born in 1990. In here, we use the past form of the be verb, which is was. Next, she went to my house last night. So this is a very simple and specific action. She went to my house last night. Please take note as well that when you are pertaining to an action that happened in a specific time, please make sure to use the simple past tense. Now, if you don't want to include time expressions, then you can just simply say, I ate breakfast. Or you can say, Rose cooked dinner. Now let's move on to its next use, the completed general information. So let's have some examples. William Shakespeare wrote to be or not to be. This is a quotation that came from the book he wrote, Hamlet. Next, we have Jennifer Lopez married Ben Affleck. So it doesn't really matter when this happened, but it's already done. It's an action that happened before. And our past form here is married. Now let's move on to the next use, which is to talk about recent past. Literally means an action that happened recently only, as of late. And we can also talk about distant past using the simple past tense. When we say distant past, it's the exact opposite of the recent past. It means something that happened long ago, like maybe years ago. Now let's have some example. She went to church yesterday. So this is an example of a recent past. Our time expression yesterday indicates recent past action. Now we can have another one. Milo lived in the UK several years ago. So our past tense here is lived, and using the time expression several years ago would indicate that this happened long time ago. And now we can also use the simple past tense to talk about one action or several actions in the past. Now, let's have an example of a sentence with one action only. I drank coffee with my friend. So that's the only action the subject did. Just drank coffee with her friend. Now, let's move on to another sentence with more than one action. In here, we have I drank coffee and ate croissant with my friend. So in here, she did two things, drank and ate. Now let's move on to another example. We went to the mall, watched a movie, and ate at a restaurant last week. So if you noticed, we have several actions in one sentence. Now please make sure that when you are forming this kind of sentence, there is parallelism. It's very important that, for example, since we began using the past simple tense in here, we have watched, ate, and went. Went, watched, ate. You cannot say we went to the mall watching a movie and ate at a restaurant last week. So there is no balance in the sentence if that's how you're going to compose it. So make sure that they are all in the simple past tense. Now, if you're using the simple present tense, make sure they are all in the simple present tense. If you choose to use the present progressive tense, then make sure they are all in the ing form. Now let's have a short exercise. Now all we have to do is to give the past form of the following verbs in order to complete the sentences. Let's have number 1. I blank a letter to my sister. Now the verb that we need to give the past form is write. If you answered wrote, then you are correct. I wrote a letter to my sister. Now let's move on to number 2. She blanked these vegetables from our farm. Our verb is harvest. If you answered harvested, then you are correct. She harvested these vegetables from our farm. Now let's move on to number 3. My mother blanked to church this morning. Our verb is go. If you answered went, then you are correct. The simple past tense of go is went. Now let's have number 4. My favorite pop singer, her newest song. Now our verb is sing. If you answered sang, then you are correct. The simple past form of sing is sang. And lastly, the model blank a fashion show in Paris. Our verb is attend. Now, if you answered attended, then once again you are correct. The word attend is an example of a regular verb. The simple past form needed an ed at the end of it. Thank you for watching this video. Please make sure to like. Don't forget to hit the bell button so that you'll receive notifications from us. And don't forget to subscribe.